fat in certain parts of your body.
Okay.
They are there naturally. That is their place.
Okay.
We run into the problem when we have too much of it in certain areas that we'll talk a lot more about tonight. Now, I do want to say that body fat, and like Deacon was saying, it is not necessarily a bad thing. It is actually a very good measure for helping you to know where you are with your health. So it is a good determinant for seeing how healthy you are or how unhealthy you are. And we cannot talk about body fat without talking about BMI, because essentially BMI will also measure body fat, but a lot of research has been found out that body fat is probably a better predictor of finding out your risk for certain diseases versus just BMI alone.
Oh, okay. So what would you say is a healthy BMI index? What would be a healthy?
So, let me take it from where Dr. Kimpson left off. So, to go to your question directly first, a healthy BMI, you are looking at anything from 18.5 to like 25. That is a healthy BMI. But what is the question would be, what is BMI? What does that mean? What does it mean? Yeah. So BMI is body mass index, and it's a measure of say your body in kilograms and divided by your weight in meters. So the unit is going to be kilograms per square meter. So you can take, it's easily calculable. You could do that at home. You measure your weight in kilos. You know your height in meters. So it's going to be your weight divided by your height, square of your height. So your number should be anywhere between 18.5 to 24.5. And if you are going beyond that, you are becoming overweight. And even beyond 30, you are like morbidly obese. So it is, everybody finds themselves somewhere. And where you are, is like she said, it's a predictor of how healthy you are, more or less.
So can you be too below the index that it becomes a problem?
I like that question. That's a good question.
Yes.
Oftentimes we have focused on the upper end, thinking about the high part, which is, because, and it's right. I mean, it's a challenge in the United States. To let you know, about 66% of the U.S. population is considered either overweight or obese. So, and it's so linked to so many, physical conditions, medical issues. So it's good to keep an eye on that, to talk about that. But let's look at the other side. That is the too little. If your BMI is definitely less than 18.5, you are underweight. And of course, several steps lower is actually unhealthy. It's not good for your health. And on that note, let me add something. I believe some of your audience out there, you out there at home, may be watching us, and you think that, oh, fat is so bad, so you are so against it that you don't even want to eat. I want to address you. Whatever we are going to say tonight is not to say that don't eat, because when you get fat, you are going to get sick. Being underweight is called anorexia. It's a psych condition, and if you don't eat and your body mass index falls below something, you can actually die. It's not good for you. So we'll talk about, let me put that one aside, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, so to piggyback off what Deacon just said, just like having too little or having a lower BMI or having a higher BMI is not good. In the same way, having too little fat is as bad as having too much fat. Because if you have too much fat, yes, it will predispose you to some obesity-related diseases. But if you have too little fat too, it could also predispose you to some metabolic diseases. There's one called Cushing's syndrome. If you have too little fat, you are predisposed to that. And
what does that look like?
You want to take that?
Cushing's syndrome?
It's a condition where the body has too little fat, and so therefore you're not able to take care of certain things. So, fat is an insulation for the body.
Yeah.
So a person like that is going to be, you're going to feel cold very easily, and so you can't regulate your temperature.
Let me even add to it. For the ladies, for women, you need fat for the reproductive system to work. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be fat. No, I'm saying fat as a tissue is needed in the reproductive process. The hormones that work, look, God gave you ladies, for a reason, right? Yeah, so you need that as part of, let's put it that way. You need that as part of the reason to reproduce.
Okay, Deacon.
I think we know what he's talking about.
I think so too. I believe
I'm glad I have people who understand. And you homes who I believe you understand just like they do.
So, moment of truth, we are actually saying that how much body fat you have can determine how healthy or unhealthy you are?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Can you expand on that?
Yes. So we do have a healthy range. So you will be able to determine for yourself whether you are in an unhealthy range or a healthy range. Either way, if you are in an unhealthy range, whether it's too little or whether it's too much, you do have to start to take steps. So and let's start with the women.
Okay.
So for a woman, your unhealthy range is going to look like you will have about 25% or more of your body fat percentage. So you should strive to stay below 25%. A healthy range is considered between anywhere from 18% to 24% for men, actually, for men. Because naturally men require less body fat than we do as women. For women, if you're 35% or more in percentage fat, you are in an unhealthy range. You should strive to stay between, I say, anywhere below 35. So that is the case for women. Women have more body fat requirements because of our reproductive functions. So childbearing, we need more fat to do the work. That is why men are not having babies. And so it is very important to be mindful of that. A lot of times people think that if they have a healthy BMI, that they are good, they're okay. But you could actually have a healthy BMI but have too much body fat. And it actually predisposes you to disease just as somebody who has a high BMI and a high body fat percentage. So like you look great. When somebody looks at you, they're not thinking, oh, she's obese. But is it possible that you may have a healthy BMI, but you could have some unhealthy body fat? You don't know unless you find out.
And how do you find out?
So obviously you have to measure it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is the first part. But maybe to take one step back to talk about what she's talking about, just to bring it home. BMI is much more popular. Everybody had gone with BMI, and we forget about the fact, like she said, we forget about the fact that I may be somebody who have strong, big bones. Right, or I may have muscle. I may be big, but it's all muscle, right?
It's
so
not
if
fat.
you use the BMI formula of my weight and my height, it might give you an indication that I'm not healthy, but it's probably all muscle. That is why Dr. Crimson is stressing that you might have a normal BMI, but the composition of your tissue may not be healthy. Yeah. So how is it measured? It is. Let me liken it to like a car business. It's anywhere from a Volkswagen to like a car, a Lexus or something. Like it ranges. There are several ways of measuring it, and some of them are expensive, of course, and the more expensive are they are, the more accurate they are. Let me put it roughly that way. You probably don't want to go and pay money out of your pocket to say, I'm going to measure my, body fat. So let's start with the, home ones.
Okay.
The basic.
That sounds good.
Measure from your midsection around your navel region, the navel region here. Yeah, would give you an indication of, a rough indication. It's not going to tell you the percentage. Let's say your body fat is 25%, but it gives you an indication that you are not in a healthy range. You get what I mean? And I think the number for ladies,
so for a woman, if you measure around your waist, and it measures 35 inches or more, you are in an unhealthy range. Your healthy range will be below 35 inches. So tonight, if you take that tape measure and you go around and you're a woman and they say 45, we got a problem on our hands. Okay.
If you're home, please try it. Or if you're somewhere that you can get a tape measure, try it. Let's see.
Yeah, for the man, we aim to stay below 40 inches.
40 inches.
Yeah. So obviously if you're over 40 inches, and I want anybody is ready to take the test tonight. Take the test. Don't be scared, because you have to know where you stand health-wise, and these are things that you can do on your own to have an idea of what it looks like. Now, of course, you can also get it measured at your doctor's office. A lot of times when we go to for our routine annual visits, it's essentially a BMI that they're taking. They'll take your height, they'll take your weight. They want to know your BMI. But routinely, we're not getting a body fat measure. It is something that you can request of your PCP to take for you. A lot of doctors' offices have very accurate ways of taking it, whether it's using the calipers or whether it's using a scale. It will give you a good indication of where you're at. Now, there are many fat analysis or fat measuring scales that you can use at home, but those sometimes record some inaccuracies, so I wouldn't depend too much on it. But just simply taking a measuring around your waist is a very good indicator, like Deacon said. It will give you an idea of whether you are in the healthy range or not.
Thanks. That's good advice.
And for somebody who is looking at it from the academic range, reason, right, for instance, and you said, oh, they sat on there and told us that the best way to measure our body fat is just to measure our weight. It's an indication. If you want an accurate one, there are really proven methods out there. Like if, let's say, you were going to do, they were going to do breast reconstruction, for instance, and they want to scan your body and see where the percentage of body fat you have that they're going to use to do all these things. They have very, very accurate things to gauge that and then redistribute that thing for you.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
And I had something in mind that I wanted to bring to the attention. It'll come back.
It'll come back to you. So if you're watching us, Moment of Truth, there's a way to measure at home, and then if you think you are not sure of what you're seeing, you're concerned, then when you go to the doctor's office, you request. This is the first time I'm hearing about using the tape measure. I just thought using the tape measure was to make clothes, Use it to measure and make clothes. True. So this is really good information. Stay with us. So the next question I have is, what are some of the challenges? You talked about health challenges you may have based on the kind of fats in your body.
That's a good question.
Let me take the overall picture, and then you go to the specifics. So, scientifically, let me start from being obese, obesity, or being overweight, or having disproportionate amount of body fat. That condition has been linked to so many medical issues, right? So many health issues, and that is why we want to focus on that tonight, because sometimes there's something called associations. While somebody cannot tell you that why is fat causing this, they can tell you that if you take 100 people who are obese, they tend to have this particular condition.
All right.
So we have not established causation, but we have established an association.
Okay.
That means when you see, how does it happen that, let's say, fat people more often get cancer? For instance, I'm not saying that
You're
fat
just
causes
giving
cancer, an association,
right.
right? So yeah, the condition is associated with several medical conditions.
Okay.
And the big ones is what I think Dr. Crimson will talk about cardiovascular diseases and diabetes, and you know, some of those things that the big hitters out there, even cancers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so one of the major problems, cardiovascular disease, diabetes. Let me start with diabetes because it is such a huge problem among us Ghanaians here and in Ghana. I came from a generation where we did not hear about too many people having diabetes, but now is a major issue in Ghana. Diabetes is, and I focus on type 2 diabetes because that is what an obesity-related disease, you know, is about when you talk about diabetes. It's just the type 2. And the type 2 diabetes is an insulin-resistant disease. So your body now is not able to use insulin properly or in the way that it should. The problem with having too much body fat is that it interferes with your body's ability to make insulin. So your body is not able to make enough insulin to help glucose do its job. In nursing school, we used to say glucose and insulin are a power couple, and they really are. When glucose rears its head, it's looking for insulin. And if it doesn't find it, it's just going to sit there and wait. And just sitting there, that means that your glucose in your blood levels is building up, is rising.
Yeah.
And that is what leads to the condition type 2 diabetes. And so being mindful about that body fat and doing whatever it takes to keep that in check, which we mentioned before, does not matter that you have a healthy BMI. You could still have an unhealthy body fat. It's hidden. You know, it's hidden. Not in an overweight person or in an obese person, somebody might think, oh, maybe they have some fat problems. But people who look healthy could also have that problem. In fact, you could have an overweight person, so someone with a higher BMI, but
doesn't have
less body fat, in which case they're in a better position than the one who has a healthy BMI.
Appearances, huh?
Exactly. with too much body fat. So these are some of the hidden things that we need to be aware of when it comes to our health. We got to look at the body as a whole and just make sure that everything is in place. No part of the body should be neglected.
So, moment of truth, you're telling us that you could look healthy, but not really be healthy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Another one is heart disease. Deacon Garten mentioned that. So, in the same wise that having too much body fat will predispose you to diabetes, it could also predispose you to heart disease. So, stroke. You could have a heart attack. I mean, how many times haven't we, you know, we're Guineans, we go to a lot of funerals. And if we really pay attention to some of the funerals that we are attending, you will see a theme across. A lot of people, we're losing a lot of people in a very young stage. You know, so you're getting people in their 50s, you're getting people in their 60s. And the course of death is sudden. Oh, what happened to the person? They found them dead in their room. They found them dead in their bathroom. Sudden death. And a lot of times it may come back as a heart problem, heart attack. It drops on you suddenly. High blood pressure will take you out silently. That one is even so dangerous because you don't even get any sign. And so you want to be aware of all of this. It will also predispose you to high cholesterol. You know, the cholesterol and high LDL, because we want our good cholesterol, which is our HDL, we want that to be higher. and we want our bad cholesterol, which is the LDL, to be lower. But this can actually predispose you to having a high LDL, which is your bad cholesterol. Think about it. You got fat floating all around. It can actually travel throughout your body to cause blockages in your arteries and all kinds of places. And that is where the problem sets in.
Okay. So someone just asked, please, we should measure from where? So it's measuring your waist
at the navel.
At
the belly button.
All right, where the belly button
at
is.
the navel.
Right.
Yeah, make sure.
And it should be below 35. This is a lady asking, so.
Yeah, it should be. If it is below 35 inches, then you're good. But if it is above 35 inches as a woman, then we may want to start doing something. If you're you're a man, then your magic number is below 40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you for your questions. Please keep them coming. So
I wanted to add something to what Dr. just said. I want to point this thing out because we all start nicely. We probably were nice. I mean, when I don't want to talk about our history, but we start nicely and we build up the weights, right? We build out the mass. We put it on and on and on. Maybe we used to think it was signs of good living, but now we think it is not. I want to touch something on that insulin resistance that she spoke about, because you may say that I don't have diabetes in my family. Why? Fine. I mean, hereditary factors can come in, but then you yourself, as you start gaining the weight, it gets to the point, like she said, fat makes your body resistant to insulin. So you may be fine. So as you gain weight, your body's resistance goes up. That means your body, that is commonly with type 2 diabetes. So you are thinking about your body's resistance to the insulin that is there versus your body's ability to produce enough. So those are all affected by the way, as you build up your body fat or your BMI.
So we've looked at the fact that cardiovascular diseases are connected, associated.
They're associated with,
so let me use the right word.
Too much body fat.
Right.
Yes. And there are a couple more, actually. Your brain function.
Tell us about brain function.
So when too much body fat actually releases some inflammatory proteins in our bodies called cytokines. Now, these cytokines affect the flow of blood to your brain. They could reduce the flow of blood to your brain. And so when you have a situation like that, we have some mental status problems here. You are not going to be as sharp as you should be. You're going to have orientation problems. And over time, if you do not correct it and put it in check, you can begin to see a cognitive decline.
Is this connected to children too?
So
that's scary.
I would be careful to take it to children, because children, the entire human brain development is dependent on cholesterol. And of course, cholesterol is part of the fat spectrum. Right. So we have to look at that. Children, that's why children can eat certain things and
get away with it.
So at younger ages, their brain, their nervous system is developing. They consume that thing very well, so they can handle it. So don't get too scared from the beginning.
It just popped in my head. Yeah. Like, how about children who are overweight?
Childhood obesity is real. So we look, if you build a fat adipose cells, you build it when you are young. And then when you grow, you just fill it up. So don't check your child's obesity status right after childhood. Don't wait until they establish all those adipose tissue there, and then when they grow, they start getting big. No, take it serious right from the word go.
Yeah, I also want to mention that how it affects our joints. So you know, like our joints, you know, sometimes people have joint pain, and they're not sure exactly what is going on. Now it is an inflammatory triggered disease, and these cytokines that I mentioned before, that are inflammatory proteins that are triggered or released by having too much fat, they destroy your protective cartilage.
Yes.
You know, cartilage is what protects our joint, and these cytokines go and destroy that. And this could be the situation if you have too much fat. So we know that when people are overweight, generally they have problems with their knees, arthritis, but it's not the only factor.
Yeah, I wanted to add that even the physical, mechanical action, the knee joint, for instance, is probably the biggest joint in your body, and you are putting that whole weight of yours on that joint. And so over time, the protective, the cartilage and all those joint synovial fluid and stuff over here, they can get worn out. If you put too much pressure on it, like overweight for a long time, then the joints degenerate, and you develop osteoarthritis. So osteoarthritis is one of the ways you get osteoarthritis. So yes, weight is very important factor in developing osteoarthritis. I didn't say rheumatoid arthritis. That's a different thing altogether. But osteoarthritis, that would be one of the things you have to look at.
That's a tall list so far, but we're not done, right?
No, we're not done.
Tell us more.
So, I did not want to talk too much about the Cushing syndrome, because a lot of us Ghanaians don't really come up with that, but it's still a concern. And so while we are promoting keeping healthy fats, I think Deacon Gate had mentioned earlier, don't be scared to eat or eat a certain amount of food. Just make sure that what you're eating is healthy, because we don't want you to go into a situation of having too little fat. It is very, very important. Now, even though Cushing syndrome may be a disease, I think usually like a cortisol, if a person is exposed to too much cortisol, they may come up with Cushing syndrome. But one of the causes could be too little fat.
What does Cushing syndrome look like?
It's sometimes you see people with like a fat neck, and it's just really all just fat deposited there. Like their neck looks bigger than it's supposed to be, and then they might look little at the bottom because they're losing fat from the hips, around the thighs. And so, you know, in Ghana we have something called, I don't know if I can use that term, kwashiorkor. It's not, so I just picture that.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
that's
not
what
that,
you're describing,
yeah,
something like
just
that.
picture that. It's not that is Cushing syndrome,
It
but
looks like that.
it looks like that, except that the person may have the big neck to go along with it. And then around the abdomen may look a little bloated, but as they go down, they get narrow down because they're losing fat from these thighs. And your fat stored in your thigh, Deacon mentioned, so all fat is not bad, we know that, but fat that is stored around your thighs is actually very, very important, because it traps fatty acids over a longer term. And what that does for you is that it prevents the fat from being deposited all throughout your body that can cause you harm. So you want your fat at the right places. Okay? And instead of having it all around here in your pooch area, we want it distributed evenly and in healthy levels.
Awesome.
Just to add, maybe to add to what Dr. Kumsin just said, the Cushing syndrome is treatable. So that let's put it there. But it's just excessive cortisol. It's caused by excessive cortisol in your body. And, the cortisol is good. It helps regulate your body functions. It's a hormone.
Yeah.
And too much of a particular hormone is too bad, right?
Right.
And too little is too bad. So, but it's treatable. So
Yeah.
Let's have a balance. Yeah. Dr. Kumsin, any more?
We got to take care of ourselves. I think we're going to stick to these for today.
Okay.
The diabetes, the heart disease is huge. I can't even say more. Deacon can't say more because every time we get patients coming through the ER doors, the inpatient floors, you're going to see diabetes, you're going to see hypertension, or you're going to see both.
I thank you so much for mentioning that. And I think the audience, I don't know your audience very well, but if you are, for us, of our race, those of, of my race, we are predisposed to that. We are more prone to the hypertension. We are more prone to diabetes. So it's, if you see some of us sitting here, it's something on our heart that, okay, this is what affects us the most, and we have to keep an eye on that. So whenever we get the opportunity to talk about things like this, we want to let you know that as an African American guy, don't play with your antihypertensive medication. Let me use this. We are not here to talk about hypertension, but let me use this to sound this out.
We'll have another day for that.
Yeah, because as Africans, when somebody tells you that you have hypertension and the doctor wants to put you on medication, typically we back away and say, no. Somebody an uncle would, send you some concoctions and say, if you drink this, I don't want us to go there. But as we mentioned that, we shouldn't joke with our hypertension and treating it. It's not a harm to treat it. Once you get it under control, you are going to be fine.
Yes.
And all hope is not lost. So moment of truth, let's find out what we can do about body fat. How can we have healthy levels of body fat?
Yeah.
What are some things we can do to make sure that we have healthy levels? You already talked about checking, first of all. So I think checking is a good thing, but after checking, what next?
So obviously, there are so many ways you can take
That's
care
great.
of that.
That's great to know.
Yeah, and we are going to talk about some of them. The big ones out there that you hear about will be diet and exercise. Your diet, what you eat. You are what you eat, they say, right? Yeah, what you put in there is what will get you into trouble. So we want to watch that. Of course, we want to do anything that would prevent you from putting it on, right? I say that it's more difficult to get rid of it. It's easier to put it on than to get rid of it. So let's start it from that way. Look at it and say, how do we put on these fats, right? Let me just mention one way. People think that I'm going to be fat only when I eat fatty food. That is true, but that is not only the case. I think most of the fat we get in our body or we store in our body is actually from carbohydrates.
Yeah.
In other words, even though they are carbohydrates, they will break down to sugars. The body will use as much as it can. Whatever is left, we don't pee sugary urine, right? So the body will still hold on to that sugar, but it doesn't keep the sugar, dancing in the blood. It will, kind of take all that sugar and process it and store it, right? It doesn't store sugar. The body doesn't store sugar. So it takes the sugar from the blood. You just ate a big bowl of rice, a big bowl of fufu, a big bowl of kenke, whatever it is, it's going to break down into sugar, right? Your blood sugar would shoot up. Your body will bring its regulatory mechanism into play. And it will use which one it can use right now. The rest, it has to take it out, package it, process it, and store it somewhere. The way it does is to pre-process sugar into fat in the liver. So the sugar will be converted into fat. Fat is actually very compact form of energy. In other words, if I'm getting energy from, let's say, rice, carbohydrates, it is, let's say, X number of energy. But if I'm going to save it, fat is like a very condensed form. So it would take a lot of these sugar from the blood, condense it into fat, which is, make it efficient for storage. So if you take a handful of, let's say, sugar and you can condense it into a tiny something like fat, that is efficiency. And that's how the body, get some of these fat. And then they process these fats and go and store it in what we call the adipose tissue. And these adipose tissues are distributed in various parts of your body. And the distribution, to some extent, is based on your genetics. So that is why somebody stores their fat here. So somebody will gain 10 pounds, and you only see their face a little lifted up. Somebody gains 10 pounds, and it's in their belly area. Somebody gains 10 pounds, and it's going to be on the backside, right? I believe if we had a choice, we'll all tell the body that go and put 5 pounds here, store 6 pounds here. It doesn't go that way, right? So the body stores it in the way based on your genetic predisposition. And that is why somebody might have, big belly, somebody may not have it, because that's where the body chooses to store it. So the challenge is that we shouldn't just focus on saying, okay, I don't eat fatty food, so I'm not going to. No, when you eat too much excess carbohydrate, it would eventually become fat in your body.
Yeah. And to go into, some of the food choices, that we can make to ensure that, we're not accumulating too much body fat in the wrong places, especially the midsection, because that is the worst offender around the abdominal area. I am very big on diet. I promote it every day. I promote it in my home. Vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. I can't tell you how much important they are. And every day, not sometimes. The whole day, from your breakfast to your dinner, you should be able to incorporate some vegetables in there. When you think about vegetables, you think high vitamins, high minerals, high in fiber. And those high fibers really do great for your digestive system. Your fruits, you're going to get your high in vitamins, your high in fiber. They are also high in sugar, so you have to be careful about that, of just how much fruit you're taking. It would be, my recommendation would be to take more vegetables in than fruit. Let's talk about fish versus meat. Choose to do less of meat and maybe more fish because of certain inflammatory hormones that can be released from eating meat. Your fish choices are going to be very important for you to save yourself from some excess fat. Legumes is very good. So your beans, and all kinds of beans, your lentils, those come in very handy. And I know sometimes as Ghanaians, we don't like to try new foods sometimes because Ghanaians we like our foods. We love our foods. And I don't blame us because our food tastes good.
And they're good. They're good.
So, but we have to think even in the selection of our foods, we are able to make healthy choices. So let's be mindful of that. Another ingredient that I want to promote today is cayenne pepper. Now, I use cayenne pepper for everything. I have come away from using habanero peppers to cayenne pepper. You have a question. You look like you have a question.
Cayenne pepper is what pepper? Let's say, which one is that? Is it the red, dry one?
Yes, but it's a difference because you have the red, the grounded one that just says ground hot pepper. That's the one that is so hot that can make you cry. That's not cayenne pepper.
Okay.
Cayenne pepper is very mild. It's an herb. Okay? And it's packed with vitamins and minerals. And it's very healing. It has a lot of healing properties. So it really promotes metabolism. So it adds to your fat burning ability. It has anti-inflammatory properties to help you protect against some of those inflammations in your body. It also suppresses hunger. So sometimes when you eat it, you just don't feel too hungry. And you are even able to control. If you are on a course to lose some weight, it's a great ingredient to incorporate in your food. Now, we know we love our chateau. I love chateau. I have replaced the ground pepper with cayenne pepper. Because cayenne pepper, you can eat it raw. You can just eat it, and it just gives you a nice tingling sensation.
Because you're African and used to African.
That is a good point. Yeah, because My coworker at work probably cannot handle it. So, but it's really good. I usually put every food that I eat, I sprinkle some on top of it. My favorite sandwich, and you guys can try it. I take the bread, I spread a little bit of olive oil, which is your unsaturated fat that is really good for you as well. It is one of your healthier choices of oils. Then I spread a little avocado on there. I give myself a little freshly grated garlic. And then here comes my tomato. And then here comes my cayenne pepper. It is very delicious. You guys should try it.
We'd like to try it.
Yes, I'm not probably she does excellently better than everybody on diet and stuff like that. But I just want to stress on fiber because that is something that a very good resource we have that we underutilize. So back home, our diet naturally is packed with fiber, right?
Yeah.
Whatever we eat, we don't process it so much so that there is fiber in there. So here I want us to be very particular about thinking about putting some fiber, deliberately finding ways to have fiber in our food. Not vegetables. Vegetables and fruit are excellent sources of fiber. But don't think about even if you are eating rice, look at rice that is, not polished, right? You have to think about eating legumes, cowpea, stuff like that. Black-eyed peas and stuff. Deliberately incorporate some of those things into your diet so that fiber will be in your diet. But the good things with fiber is that it's not just preventing you from putting on weight. It is sequestrate cholesterol. It helps hold your cholesterol in your system. It brings down cholesterol. Not just that. It helps some cancers. Fiber will prevent you from getting some cancers. And it's very helpful in most of cardiovascular diseases as well.
Yeah, and diabetes.
Yes, and diabetes, exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't stress that enough. Have fiber in your food. That's good enough.
Wow. That's a question here. Thank you. She says, I have a question. Why do we Africans have problem with high cholesterol? Because most of the time when I visit my doctor, they always say that. How can we lose belly fat without losing weight?
Oh, okay.
Why so much cholesterol? And then how can we lose belly fat without actually losing weight?
Oh, okay. So let me look at it this way. I think I read, is it an article we read that is talking about the fact that remember I told you that the body packages the fat and stores it somewhere. Where it stores it, that is where it will go next time when it needs to, take it back, right? So when your body is storing extra weight in your midsection, when you start exercise, and then we've only talked about prevention, we've only talked about diet. We haven't talked about exercise.
Okay.
But when you start, using them, the body will fetch it from where it put it. So if your genetic makeup is such that your fat is being stored in your midsection, when you start exercise, that is where the body will first go to bring those fats. So yes, what you put on, you will get it. The body will work that one out.
But would you have to lose weight?
Yes, losing weight is good. If you are losing weight because you have excess fat, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was the other part of the question?
It says, why do we have so much problem with high cholesterol?
I'm sorry, but it is our genetic predisposition.
Question.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, as black people, yes. We are more predisposed to it. And I guess we should also watch our diet. We have a specific kind of food we eat. And so maybe is our diet, and that will be a question for the nutritionist. But is our diet more, do they tend to have, cholesterol? But cholesterol, again, like fat is fat. So it has good functions and not so good functions. So we're not going to give it a bad rap, just paint it one brush. But to answer your question, we are a little predisposed to, high cholesterol compared to the other.
Yeah, and cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing. The brain functions a lot on cholesterol and sugar.
Brain matter
high in
cholesterol.
Cholesterol is, and that is why some scientists have a problem with putting some people in a certain age category, mostly like above maybe 70, or anybody who has signs or is showing dementia, on some of these medications like anti-cholesterol medication like the statins. Some scientists have a problem with that because it's ridden the body of the cholesterol that it needs to really, really function. Some scientists will tell you, eggs is one. Eggs is very controversial. You have one school of thought that would say that eggs is not good for you because of the cholesterol. You have another school of thought that would tell you that eggs is really good because it's mostly cholesterol. And what does the body, the brain function on? Sugar, cholesterol. So it is not a bad thing.
It's a
like
balance. It's a balance thing. You have to find the right balance. And I think your doctor and your nutritionist and your dietitian or whatever they are all there to help you to get that balance. And always try to find that balance. Okay. But did you want us to talk about the other?
Yeah.
So, of course, we're talking about exercises. We talked about diet. Let's talk about exercises. Okay. And when you go to your doctor's office, probably every problem you have, they probably would tell you that go and start exercising and it will stop, right? Yes, it cannot be overemphasized. Exercises, do a good thing for our body. I mean, they do good things for our body. So we shouldn't play with our exercises. By all means, let me start from the top. If you can go to the gym, be a member. By all means, find ways to stay active. That is a good thing. But for many of us who have any excuse in this world not to go to the gym, that does not mean that is the end of it all. You should modify your lifestyle and incorporate that physical activity in what you do.
Yeah.
When you go to the mall, you take 10 minutes to drive around to get a parking lot that is just right at the door. Why don't you park somewhere out there and deliberately walk to enter the mall?
Yeah.
These are some of the things you can think about. When you go to work, what would keep me moving? Think about those things. There are so many ways. I don't want to take, there's something that Dr. Kumsin is very passionate about. I don't want to take it away from her. But think about every way that you can incorporate physical activity into your lifestyle. That is important. That will take away most of your challenge. Think about walking. I mean, your house is not, only 5 minutes from the mall. Why don't you put a car down sometimes and just walk and come back? That is important. That is very important.
Yeah, that is it. You hit it right on the nail. Move. Whatever you do, by all means move. Whether it's that movement, is walking, is running, is jogging.
How about dancing?
Dancing is excellent.
Okay, let's put on some music.
Excellent. Any movement, any activity, some of you live in a 2-story or even a 3-story building. You got stairs. Don't try to avoid them.
They are not there only for fire emergency.
Use them.
Not just for fire emergency.
Right? Move. In my previous job, I used to work in D.C. and I used to work on the 12th floor. For a period of about 3 or 4 months, I was using the stairs, all 12 flights. Wow. Now, initially, I would be so out of breath. But then I realized that the more I did it, it became like a norm. Like, I literally went up the 12 flights and did not feel anything. But it came with time. So with time, it's going to become so normal, and you're going to do it with so much ease. We talk about the elevator versus the stairs. By all means, use it. And of course, if you were running late to a meeting, I want you to get to your meeting. But these are some of the changes that we can make. Also, lifting weights is really, really good. And I'm not talking about like hardcore lifting weight. You can get a little 5-pound
dumbbells.
Yeah, the dumbbells. Thank you. You can get those 5 pounds here, 5 pounds there. Just a little bit of it. These are strengthening exercises, and we have found research that people who incorporate some strengthening exercise are able to lose belly fat twice faster than people who don't incorporate that. And so you just think about these things. You don't have to go to the gym to do these things. These are things that you can do at home, in your neighborhood. Whatever you do, by all means, move. What I wanted to bring our attention to when we talk about diet is we can choose all the right foods that we want, but the timing of eating is also very important. You know, and the worst offender is in the evening, the dinner time, because a lot of us are just coming from work. We're tired.
Dr. Kumsin, I just want to hope my wife is not watching this show, because she is going to jump on me and say, hey, you get want to. When I was thinking, well, have you eaten when she came from work? I've been home today. It's like, have you eaten? I said, oh, I ate breakfast. I will eat later. Oh, you are going to go and come and eat late. You know, and I said, yes. The wives are usually correct. Gentlemen over there, listen to your wives. They don't eat too late and go to bed. It's not good for us. We know that, and we can do better than that. Yeah. But let me say one thing about something about the weight bearing thing you were talking about. Sorry, it's probably off color, but off topic. But let me add it in there because so weight, the human bone, it strengthens itself when there's weight bearing exercise. So your bones, so you know how people age and their bones have become fragile and they can break easily. Please, a little weight-bearing exercise. That's the only way. When you do that, that's when the body is laying reinforcement on your bone. Your bones become stronger when you do weight-bearing exercise.
Yeah.
So
that's good to know.
All ladies who menopause, your estrogen level is going down, your bone density is going low. The solution would be to do weight-bearing exercise.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's just on the side.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Moment of truth. This has been awesome. If you're out there and your New Year resolution was to lose some weight or eat healthier or be more healthy, remember, as Dr. and Deacon were saying, it takes time. So this is a check-in time. If you have given up on your resolution, no, don't give up yet. Give yourself time. So like she said, you need time to do it continuously until it becomes a part of you. So moment of truth. Be patient with yourself. Keep going, keep going, keep going. If you want to say one last thing to your audience, what would you say, Dr. Prissy?
Well, I did want to mention briefly about our new Ghanaian Nurses Association that we just literally gave birth to.
Yeah.
We are meeting once a month. For now, and our next meeting is going to be on March 16th. It's a Saturday. Our time is 3 to 5 p.m. This is an association of nurses and other healthcare professionals. So you don't have to be a nurse to join. You can be a pharmacist, you can be a doctor, you can be a lab technician. Wherever you fit in the healthcare industry, you are most welcome to join. We just started this association, and we are encouraging all our nurses and all our healthcare professionals out there to join. You can always contact myself, Deacon Gate, and we can give you some more information. Of course, your point of contact here is through Ms. Davi, and she will let you know how to get in touch with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Deacon, your last words, please.
Oh, thank you. Just by way of, full disclosure, I'm also a member of the Ghanaian Nurses Association, so Baum join us. But I want to touch on, talk to us about everything we have said here tonight. It's not all or nothing. Oftentimes people think that if I cannot do it all to the max, then I don't even want to start at all. Start step by step. So whatever you can, start doing. If it's exercise, if it's your diet, you probably won't change overnight, but start one step at a time. So that is something I want you to take from here. And finally, I want to say that everything we have said, we talk about the word balance. Everything in moderation. Don't go to the extreme of everything. Don't say that Dr. and Deacon sat here and said body fat is not good, and that's therefore I'm not going to eat. By all means, eat.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been awesome having you, and we look forward to having you again same time next week.
Thank you.
And we'll come with a different health topic. You need to stay tuned. Thanks so much to our technical team.
Have anything they want us to talk about too?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Deacon, go ahead.
Yeah, so just to steal the from her, just telling you out there, if you have any particular health topic that you want to hear about, you can, send it to them, and they will let us know, and we have, a few weeks ahead that we can come here and break it down for all of us.
Isn't that awesome? Thank you. Thank you. So please send your topics, and then they'll do justice to whatever it is you want to hear about.
Yes.
Thanks to our technical team. We thank Mr. Sean. We thank Mr. Nkansa, Elder Esirifi, for all that you see here. That's their work. Thank you very much, technical team. Thanks also to Ashon Collections. They supply electronics and consumer products. You could reach Ashon Collections at 024-354-8925. Thanks to Lean on Jesus Foundation and Ministries. Thanks so much to the National Head of Church of Pentecost, Apostle Ajimai Amwaku. Thanks to the Washington Regional Head, Apostle Asemno. And thanks to the pastor of COP Maryland, Reverend Elvis Boateng, and the family for all you do. Thanks for you tuning in and keeping us busy and exciting. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to having you again next week, same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's bye for now.